intriguing. It's quite interesting for me because even though I'm colourblind, green's one of those colours I see quite well, I think. So.
This is a very rich bluey green.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice.
This is the Games Workshop style paint jobs tend towards the more cartoony, the more exaggerated, which I like. I really like that.
That's the whole point. I mean, we don't really have anything to base a realistic orc colour scheme on, so we may as well make it slightly more caricaturistic.
So we.
So after the highlight on the muscles, what's next after this? The clothing or the weapons or?
I don't know. I've not thought that far ahead.
A true professional. Presumably it'd be leatherwork, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Lots of brown.
Nice.
So.
Does leather have to be brown with the orcs, or can you kind of add variants to that?
You can add variants. You can add black, which is a really difficult colour to.
Yeah, certainly on a black undercoat, I imagine.
Yeah, I find it a difficult colour to. I think it's black and white are the two most difficult colours to shade and highlight. But I have a couple of recipes that might be okay. But yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, let's cook up some brown clothes.
Okay, so all I'm doing is going over where.
Actually, I mean, if these orcs were from the Yellow Suns, I mean, they'd have brown leather with then presumably their yellow sun painted on it, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So I mean, if you come up with a kind of standardised paint scheme for you guys at home, you could then adapt that quite easily.
Yeah, this is it's gone a bit too dark on the sides of the head. So he's got comedy shadows on the head. I'm just trying to soften that down. But once the highlights have gone on and the shading wash has gone on, it won't be too.
Well, it will lighten up anyway.
Yeah.
Well, only by a couple of degrees, but yeah. No, I think that looks good.
It's all about contrast, really.
Especially at this scale.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't. It will be about 2 or 3 or 4 feet away that you see these.
And it will be with another 10 of its little friends, probably. So.
Yeah, so it will look uniform. I just had an insect land on me.
First of the season, excellent.
So yeah, just when you're applying this second highlight, try and make it a bit smaller. Cover a smaller area than the first. To show that there's a more shade.
It's quite interesting to watch. I hope the end user and the end viewer is enjoying watching the process as well, because obviously we've gone from a completely matte black and we're really getting some interesting shading coming through here. I mean, I know for myself, I mean, the whole progression and the whole reason for these kind of tutorials is because I know that some kids who are interested in Warhammer certainly live quite far away from the stores, unfortunately, and can't attend to the painting that Games Workshop teaches, and they do an excellent job in educating people on how to use their products. And of course, for the slightly older person, perhaps they feel a little bit intimidated at going to a store and talking to people. So, I mean, for myself, I mean, I'm 36, and I'd find it a tiny bit intimidating myself, I think, sitting on a bench next to a 13-year-old learning how to paint an orc.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm finding this quite interesting. So.
It's the good thing is because the paints are labelled, and I use it's almost an almost mathematical system of, you know, like 3 dobs here and 3 dobs there. You can be colourblind and still use the system. You've got to trust a bit to faith.
Well, it's a little bit like of kind of painting with numbers in effect. You know that's an arm, you know that's clothes, and they've been so kind as to label on the jar what the colour is.
Yeah.
And my cousin Ben is colourblind, and when he was young, he used to do the old trick when he was doing colouring in at school, where he'd say, "Could you pass me the green pen, please?" Even though there were all the pens lying next to him. That's kind of quite common with people who are colourblind.
Yeah. So Yeah, so that should do for that side. Just got this arm to do, and then that's
very nice.
shading done. So just painting it into the grooves. Thank God Games Workshop they exaggerate their miniatures. The musculature is very exaggerated. I mean an orc and a human in hand in reality, an orc could just pull your arms off and...
Well, unless you're in a Star set, of course.
Oh yeah, the Space Marines.
Which is the whole point of them, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, orcs versus almost any kind of standard army unit tends to be mince.
Definitely. I mean, orcs in a unit of orc boys with two-hand weapons in contact with, in combat hand to hand with Space Marines. Space Marines are on a bit of a rocky slope there.
Mm.
So.
Time to call out the flamer.
Yeah, I like the orcs though. They're interesting.
Orcs are a lot of fun. You can play them in a number of ways, whether it be running towards the enemy screaming, or playing a slightly more tactical game.
Yeah.
And of course they look funny as hell.
And you guys at home, you can take your time a bit more.
Absolutely, especially if this is your first one. I mean, you should be coming back to this, looking over what Rob's doing. Just take your time, watch it again and again if you have to, and really give consideration to what you're going to do. If you bought a box of orcs, and in this case, I mean, this is from the Orc Battle Force box, you'll have plenty to try out on. I mean, I'm looking at the Orc Battle Force box myself at the moment, and it contains 20 Orc boys, 3 Orc warbikes, and an Orc chuck, which is a lot of stuff to be painting. And of course you've got the nice organic stuff to be painting and the mechanical stuff in here. So, I mean, there's stuff for everyone's taste. And something I've noticed a lot with the newer Warhammer stuff is that there is a lot of variance and a lot of good detail in their boxes.
Definitely. I mean, plastic, they've got the kind of detail that a few years ago you could only get in resin.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, something I've noticed especially is, I mean, I've got the Battle of Macragge here because I needed the rulebook for my own kids who play Warhammer 40k, and you know, the rulebook's £25, or there's Macragge, which is slightly more than that, and you get a load of models in. And Macraggie's a couple of years old now. It's due for update. And the detail in the models in that compared to the detail in the models coming out now, you can see the difference.
Yeah, and the Macragge models were very, very detailed at the time.
They were fantastically detailed. They're a really good set, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, compared to what's coming out now, and compared to, I mean, I've heard what the replacement of the Battle for Macragge is going to be, and that sounds excellent.
Right, so yeah, that's the shading done. I went over the head a bit more, just to define it a bit more, and see it on the arms.
Yeah, that looks really nice, Rob.
So there you go.